whenever we negate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever we negate anything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the intent is not just to merely negate from Allah, but rather to affirm the opposite of that. This is a principle, that whenever we see negation in the Quran, it hasn't been negated just for the sake of negating. Rather, what is intended by it is that we affirm the complete opposite for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To illustrate this principle, like when Allah says in Surah or in Ayatul Kursi, when Allah says, وَلَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ, that neither sleep nor slumber overtakes him. The intent here isn't just to merely negate these qualities from Allah, because to negate qualities from Allah doesn't imply perfection. Like if you said, it's like if you said about Allah, he neither sleeps and nor does he become tired. This in itself isn't a praise for Allah. Rather, what it implies is Allah is perfect in His life. He's perfect in His ability to sustain the whole of the universe. So it implies the opposite of what sleep and slumber imply. This is what is actually intended in the Quran, that whenever we see Allah negating something from Himself, the intent isn't just to merely negate, rather it is to affirm the exact opposite. And in this is a form of praise for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for this reason, it is why negation has come in a general sense in the Quran, not in a specific sense. So we see that in the Quran, that Allah didn't say the one who is not blind, the one who is not dumb, the one who is not speechless, the one who is not unjust, the one who is not, He didn't use negations. The one who is not ignorant, the one who is not unliving, because this doesn't imply praise. Now, if you, even amongst the creation, if you said about someone, let's say a king, for example, he's not stingy, he's not this, he's not that, whatever, it doesn't imply praise. But when you say about someone, he is kind, he's generous, he's knowing, he's wise, he's forbearing, this now implies praise. Now you know that this language which is being used here is something which implies praise of that person. Whereas when you say he's not blind, he's not deaf, he's not dumb, he's not ignorant, he's not this, he's not that, it doesn't imply any praise. So we see that in the Quran, as a principle, we see that Allah has affirmed for Himself names and attributes in a specific sense. So we see Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Qudus, As-Salam, Al-Mu'il, Al-Muhaymin, and so on and so forth, all of the names. Likewise, Allah has knowledge, Qudra, Hikmah, Mahabba, Rahmah, and so on. So all of Allah's attributes are mentioned specifically. But when Allah negates things from Himself, then we see that negation is done either in a general sense or because of a specific reason. So for example, we see Allah negates from Himself that He has a son. This is a specific negation for a reason, because of a false charge against Him. Likewise, Allah negates that He has a wife or a companion because of a false charge against Him. Likewise, Allah negates and denies that He's stingy or His hands are tied, like the Jew said. He's made that negation because of a specific, rebuttal. Right? But in a general sense, we see negation from Allah just generally. Like, for example, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing which is a likeness to Him. A general negation. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٍ. There is no equal to Him. A general negation. هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. Do you know of a namesake for Him? Meaning there isn't a namesake for Him. A general negation. So we see that in what Allah negates from Himself, it is using general language, or it is a negation because to refute a specific allegation which is false. Having a son, having a wife, being stingy or greedy, or being incapable, right? So this is what we see when it comes to negation for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it implies the complete opposite. So when Allah says, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا, speaking about the heavens and earth, that it does not tire Him, does not make Him weary that He should maintain the heavens and the earth. Right? This establishes Allah's complete, perfect qudra and power and life. And likewise, when Allah negates dhulm from Himself, وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. That your Lord is not unjust to anybody. It implies the complete opposite, which is Allah's complete wisdom and His complete justice. Complete wisdom and complete justice. So the point being here then, the principle being here is that when it comes to negating, when Allah negates from Himself, then this negation isn't just negating for the sake of negating. Rather, whenever Allah negates anything from Himself, we affirm the complete opposite, because only then does it become a praise. So when we say that Allah is not unjust, we affirm that Allah is the most just, because this is what implies praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say that Allah is not overcome by sleep or slumber, then we affirm Allah is Al-Qayyum and Al-Hayy, the ever-living, and Al-Qayyum, the one who sustains everything besides Him. Only then does it become a praise, when we negate from Allah, sleep and slumber. And then we apply the same thing to all of the other, when we say, the various other examples that were given. So, with that then, inshallah ta'ala, we finish our commentary upon these three sentences. And so, although they are very brief sentences, they carry a lot of meanings and a lot of points of benefit, as we've been through in this lesson. So, inshallah ta'ala, we will conclude the lesson here, and we'll continue with the lesson, inshallah ta'ala, in 2 weeks' time. There won't be a lesson next week, it will be in 2 weeks' time, inshallah ta'ala. So, any questions on anything that's been said? Inshallah. Okay, there's a question, is it not the same, is it not the case that we may share the same name, but the meaning is different? He hears, we hear, in other words, Allah hears and we hear. The similarity is in the word is same, not meaning, as he's hearing as better than. What the questioner is saying is that, isn't it the case that there is a difference, or that the similarity is not in meaning, rather the meaning is different? The answer to this is that the meaning is the same from one aspect, but is different from another. So first of all, we have to establish the similarity in meaning, otherwise we can't establish the attribute. So for example, when we say that Allah hears, and we say that Allah sees, then there is a base meaning, there is a foundational meaning as to what is hearing, what is seeing, that we understand it. So from this aspect, we can't deny that there is a similarity or a resemblance in the meaning at least. But then as it relates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is something additional. So for example, when we speak of Allah's hearing, then Allah's hearing is all complete, all perfect. It encompasses every single thing. So there is something additional to that meaning for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which incorporates all of the perfection and so on and so forth. But as for the human, then that meaning remains as it is. It is just the base meaning along with the limitations that we have. So we can't hear something that's on the other side of town. All right. So there's the base meaning of that word exists, and likewise that exists for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is something additional in meaning which makes His hearing to be different from ours. So this is in fact how the Shaykh himself, Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, how he explains it. And he says that the meaning, yes, there is a degree of resemblance in the meaning, but then there's something additional for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that makes His hearing, for example, or whether it's seeing, for example, or whether it's Allah's love, or whether it's Allah's pleasure, or whether it's Allah's power, then there's something additional to that which makes Allah's different to ours. So the answer in short then is that we can't deny there is a similarity in meaning or a resemblance in meaning. Yes, there is a resemblance in the meaning, in the sense that the meanings of all things, as it relates to Allah and us, that there's a base, core, foundational meaning which is the same. And then as it relates to Allah specifically, there is something additional which makes something additional in meaning, which makes Allah's attributes unlike or far superior and far better and far perfect and completely perfect as compared to our deficient attributes with their meanings. So hope that answers the question, inshallah ta'ala. So the similarity is in the word, definitely. And likewise, because Allah says, As-Sami' al-Basir, man kana as-Sami'an basira. Likewise, there is a similarity in the meaning which it implies. There has to be a similarity in the meaning. Otherwise, Allah couldn't be described with any attribute. So, As-Sami' means Allah has Sam'. And so, As-Sam', we know it means to hear. So yes, the meaning is the same between Allah and the creation. However, as it relates to Allah, there is something additional, above and beyond that meaning that we know. Because that meaning that we know is limited with deficiencies. And as it is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is complete and perfect in every single respect. So there is something additional to that meaning as it relates to Allah, which we don't have in the creation.